Here's how the Illinois Fighting Illini can upset the Indiana Hoosiers. As it stands right now, Illinois is a 6.5-point underdog to Indiana in a top 20 ranked matchup this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time in Memorial Stadium. The game is at Indiana. I've already been pretty open and honest in both my Indiana versus Illinois preview and prediction video, which is linked in the top right corner of your screen, that I think Indiana is going to win, and perhaps in a dominant fashion. And I've also been honest about that in my 15 reasons why Indiana will win video. If you're interested in listening to either of those, please go back to where I said they were in the top right corner of the screen in those exact timestamps and click the links, give them a like, comment your thoughts, and listen to them. But we're going to be taking the Illinois angle here. And even though I believe quite strongly that Indiana is going to win this game, Illinois is a good enough team. They're well coached, and they have a good enough roster with some great players to where there is a path that they can pull off an upset. After all, it's not like the spread is double digits. We're talking about a single-digit spread. Illinois is a ranked team. They're power-rated top 25. So I want to delve in to the path they have to pull off this upset here and win this game as an underdog. Before we get into that, though, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, not just for the channel, but also for the Illinois and Indiana team playlist podcast that is attached to this video. That way you can get notified when I talk about these teams. I'm going to be previewing, guaranteeing that I preview Indiana versus Iowa and Illinois versus USC, games I'm very excited to watch that will take place next Saturday, following this Saturday. And also comment your thoughts down below. So here's the path for an Illinois win. Luke Altmyer has to excel. The secondary has to ball out, be close to perfect in coverage. Altmyer must run the ball. Barry Looney Jr. and Bret Bielema, they're going to have to collaborate on a game plan that features Altmyer having the football in his hands on designed runs. The defense for Illinois will bend. I'm almost certain they will bend, but whether or not they will break is somewhat in their control. They're going to have to do their best to not break, and they will have to force turnovers as they have been accustomed to doing so. This is a team that is very good. Just watch the Duke game. They're very good at forcing turnovers. They're good at running the football late after they force turnovers. Illinois is a team that loves to lean on you. That's how they beat you. If they can stay within a puncher's chance, if they can trade blows with you back and forth and they can win the turnover battle, they will lean on you and they will pull away. That's what the Duke game was this year. That's what the Nebraska game was last year. Games against Rutgers, for example, or games against Michigan. That is what Illinois did. South Carolina in the bowl game, which I would argue was probably the most impressive win that Bret Bielema has ever had with the Illini. That was a very impressive win. I myself was somewhat shocked at how Illinois won that game, even though I thought in the back of my mind, with it being a bowl game with opt-outs, that the Illini might pull it off with their coaching. I personally think Illinois probably has a better staff than South Carolina, but the way in which they did it with how they won the lines of scrimmage against a South Carolina team that was stout there on the D-line was impressive. They're going to have to have a similar effort to that game here, where they're going to have to punch above their weight class, and they're going to have to excel in the passing attack. They're going to have to hold their own water at the point of attack in the trenches. Illinois is this team that has done a very good job of scoring points and preventing opponents from scoring points. That may sound very redundant, but I will explain what I mean by that. They are 13th in adjusted expected points added per play, per game on paper. You look at their success rate on offense, they have a 50.5% success rate, which is pretty high, very high. Not one of the top 5 highest success rates, though. And you look at their defense, and their success rates are just good at the current moment. They're not elite by any stretch of the imagination. Illinois is this team this year, along with last year, that often lets you, as their opponent, win the yards battle, yards game, the yards per play game, and maybe at the very worst, you trade blows with them there. But in terms of actually scoring points, Illinois dominates there, with the exception of teams that are drastically superior. So Penn State last year, Oregon last year, Minnesota was just that one time where a similar team ended up beating Illinois as kind of the one outlier compared to all the other games where Illinois played someone of similar talent and won, if not dominated. Altmyer will have to have a quarterback efficiency rating in the 80s at minimum, if not, I would say 90s. I think that Illinois will have some opportunities here to get turnovers from Mendoza, who I think makes riskier throws and sometimes has pretty questionable in terms of not just risky, but he's not placing the ball correctly compared to how Rourke would place it. Definitely is a lower floor on top of having a higher ceiling compared to Curtis Rourke. So I think that you are going to want to, if you're Illinois' defense, see that lower floor from Mendoza and then take advantage of it with forcing turnovers. This defense, it is strong in the defensive backfield. Of course, there are strengths that it has up front. Gabe Yakis is a great defensive end for Illinois, outside linebacker. And they also have Dylan Rosiek there. But the secondary is the main strength of this unit. The defensive line has done a better job than I thought it would from a preseason angle, but I also don't know if that's exactly because they haven't yet faced a good offensive line. I'm pretty sure Indiana has a good offensive line. So James Thompson Jr., Kurt Neal, they'll have to do a really good job holding their own. Same with the Illinois offensive line. But in this game, if you're going to win, and this is with any game, your strengths usually have to come through. And that means that Torrey Cox Jr., Matthew Bailey, Miles Scott, Caleb Patterson, Xavier Scott, Tanner Heckel, what that means is they are going to have to, maybe you give Illinois some yards, or Indiana some yards, pardon me, but you don't let them score in the end zone. You don't let them reach the end zone. They get to the 20, things get rough. You force some field goals from Nico Radicic. And then offensively, with Luke Altmyer, you run when you think it's advantageous. You don't force the issue either, but you don't give up your identity if the game is close. And you try to let Altmyer sometimes pull the ball on some of his reads, and I think he can be pretty effective there. Altmyer is not just an effective passer of the ball, but he has great pocket awareness, and I think he is an effective scrambler and runner of the football as well. It's really how Illinois is going to pull off this upset here, if indeed they do, is they're probably going to let Indiana beat him in the yards category, honestly. And maybe they can match, but I kind of think that Indiana here is the better team. I think the power ratings say that. The spread obviously indicates that the books think Illinois is the inferior team here on top of being on the road. It'll take winning the turnover battle. It'll take having superior quarterback play. It'll take having better red zone efficiency. That is how Illinois can upset Indiana. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and also comment your thoughts and analysis down below. Make sure to also hit the bell for the Illinois and Indiana podcast playlists that are linked to the video. Have a great day, and I will see you all very shortly.